Well, good afternoon or good day, everybody. I don't know what time it is there, but I want to welcome our special guest today, Matt Clark. Let me tell you a little bit about Matt. He's standing here looking at me, but before we bring him in, Matt was a former pit crew leader for NASCAR team. He is currently a Conquer small business coach. He's a leadership evangelist and a disc profile junkie. Welcome to the show, Matt.
I think you nailed that. And I think of all the things that I've done and do, I love understanding people and the personality stuff and building teams. I'm building high performance teams. So that disc stuff, I geek up over that, but I really know that's not where we're going, but yes, that's part of who I am, Sid. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. Great. We'll probably dip into that too, because it's a great leverage tool to help you get more performance out, from less effort, but we'll get to that in a minute. Before we dive into any questions, Matt, give us a little bit of background and how do you get from the NASCAR high performance teams in the pit crew to the home service industry and kind of your path along the way? Give us paint a picture.
Okay. So long time ago. No, here we go. Right. So honestly, I'm a blue collar guy at heart. I was born into a second generation home improvement company. And I understand my folks were, hey, you don't work, you don't eat, no paid vacation. So I grew up working in the family business, obviously went off to high school and college, and fast forward a little bit here, about 20 some odd years ago, I started in the cleaning business because I was working for a very large siding window roofing company here in Charlotte, North Carolina. During that time, we had moved from Connecticut, and I had started taking some classes at the community college. I'm a lifetime learner. I already have my bachelor's, but I just love learning. And I got connected with the NASCAR community. And the long story short, someone who was an instructor there, eventually they knew my background as a coach and athletic trainer. They asked me to come and start coaching their pit crews. So I left my job in the blue collar industry there with that company and went into NASCAR for 15 years. Now, let me back up just a little bit. While I was working as the operations manager for this large company, I began to see these invoices coming in for pressure washing.
Yeah.
I went to the owner. I'm like, wait a second. I always had a hustle in me. I always made 1099 income. I'm like, if I get pressure washing equipment, could I start doing this on the weekends outside of the hours? He's like, absolutely. So that's how I started cleaning 20 years ago.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I put that on pause. When NASCAR called, I'm like, hey, I love the cleaning business, but I think I'm going to spend some time. And eventually I ended up working for drivers like Jimmie Johnson and Jeff Gordon. So I spent 15 years there.
Nice.
Did some live TV at Fox Sports 1, the big channel. And then here I am, right? I'm a middle-aged guy. I'm not young. I'm not beautiful. And my time in TV was over per se. And I went back to cleaning. And that's how I ended up back in the cleaning business, connecting at one of the conventions down in Charleston, Paul Cassander, Brandon Vaughn, getting those connections. And that's how I ended up back in the cleaning business. And then eventually coming to work with Brandon Vaughn as one of my coaching lanes here in Conquer. So I also do coaching, high performance team building outside of Conquer, but that's how I ended up in Conquer.
Okay. That kind of brings us full circle, and it helps me understand, part of the path and where to connect the dots. So right now, you just told me before we started that you have either pressed pause on your service business or you've offloaded it. So where's your focus now? What's the scope of your business now? What do you do? And I have a follow-up question for that.
Okay. So I spend a lot of time working in Conquer, helping small business owners systemize their business, automate, grow, sell, right? That's the name of the company. And we help them grow and live the life that they want to live as entrepreneurs. I also do coaching outside of Conquer. I work with high performance athletes. I've got a young high performance golfers, won 80 golf tournaments. We work on mindset, high performance there. I also do some very little, and this is just on request. I work with some folks and they're young men in navigating life. But my main focus outside of all of that is I work with organizations to build high performance teams. And really my focus is culture, communication, and execution.
Okay. So we usually, when we're talking, so this is the 80-20 show, and we focus on things that are related to the 80-20 principle. So how do we get more juice from our squeeze? How can I get bigger results from a smaller effort? And a lot of times that, that's having a better tool or a better system or, leadership on your team. But honestly, most of it comes down to, and you just touched on it. That's why I want to ask you this. It really is, it's more mindset than anything else. That's the biggest lever for getting a bigger result from a smaller effort. And you said mindset coach with this professional golfer.
Yeah. So the backstory to that, and it's 100% true. And I just came back from a week-long mastermind out in Utah. And I'll hit that in a second. But that father came to me because he knew I had coached that father as a pit crew guy in NASCAR years earlier.
Oh.
So he knew what it takes to go over the wall, to have that mindset. And he's like, I couldn't think of a better coach for you to work with my son on his mindset game. We've got a swing coach. He works out. It's really the mental game is where he's blocked up. And Sid, I'm going to tell you, mindset is everything. Like we can hustle, we can grind, we can bootstrap it. And we've all done that, right? And the basic business model is market, sell, execute, spend the money we make, start it all over again.
True.
Right? That's the basic business model. But ultimately, it comes down to mindset. And this is just a note I'm going to just share with you real quick. I mean, this is a note from a high performer that I was spending some time with last week. And it really is, what is that extra 1% to go from great to outstanding? And it's that 1%, that extra, the juice that you're talking about, squeezing it out. Do I have an abundance mindset?
Mm-hmm.
Am I a victim? Like these are all the things that we have to examine. And that's why we'll touch this later. Understanding how I'm wired and how I pursue life. That's why DISC gives me the good lens to understand how I communicate and how I function. So, it all comes down to what am I willing to do? And how am I willing to change to get to the next level in my life, business, relationships, etc.
So hold on, I'm jotting that down. So I try not to leave any dead space on the air here. So one great example of mindset shift that makes a profound difference in business is go from, you probably heard this. If you want something done right, you got to do it what?
Yourself.
You do it yourself. So if I want to get something done right, I have to do it myself. That puts me in a very bottleneck position. But to change the language in your head from I have to get this done to this has to get done. That relieves you of the obligation of you have to do it yourself. It's like, this has to get done. Well, anybody can do that.
Right.
And then also recognizing that you and I, or dear listener, even you, are not the end all and be all, that other people are great at stuff that you struggle with, and just give it to them, let them do it. So what are some other, your mindset really is everything. It used to chap me when I was, a young hustle, and I was just grinding. People would go, it's all in your mindset. It's all in your mind. I ask successful people, like, what do I do to get, to make more money or to do this or that? And they're like, it's your mindset. And I'm like, screw that. I need you, give me something I can use. And then I discovered it really is the beliefs in your head, and you change those and the results all change.
Right. So it's a couple things, right? It's not how, it's who. I get stuck in the house sometimes, right? Because I will kill myself, death by perfection. Right. Yeah. And I hear this with my coaching clients. No one can do it like me. And I'm guilty of it. Like I'm even working on some personal branding myself on my own website. And I asked my web designer, cool, get me to a certain point. And the program Elementor is a great program, but it allows guys like me who like to tinker and have too much control to spend too much time on my website. I mean, that's being transparent, right? But how many other systems or things do we control because they're not worthy, because I'm better than them at doing this in my job? And I think we have to get this mindset of what can we automate, what can we delegate, and what can we eliminate? Yes. And the more that we can release, the more bandwidth it frees up for us to be creative, because as business owners, we should be at the problem solving creativity level. In other words, how do I solve the major problems? Not if my guy's coming in late or whatever. Like, how do I take my business from 7 figures, $1 million to $1.5 million to $2 million? Is that the business I want to build, right?
Yeah.
Getting that clarity of, again, we'll hop into this maybe in a little bit later, but like, what is the business and what is the life that I want to build? And it comes down to, what is my mindset and what self-limiting beliefs do I have that is really causing me not to reach and to do those things?
Yes. Okay. So many questions here, but I'm going to go with this. Where there's like clarity and purpose give you great leverage in your life and your business. And when you have, like, I like to say, a moment of clarity is worth a month of hard work. Because once you know the answer, you have at least, or you have a framework of making decisions, it pushes you so far forward. But a real challenge, and you had brought this up earlier, a real challenge for people in the home services industry is, I'll call it like, you climb the ladder of success and you find out your ladder's against the wrong wall. You're building somebody else's dream. Like how many people go into like understanding what is it you really want out of your business? Don't build the business I want, build the business you want.
Sid, you've been reading my mail. You've been sitting in on all my coaching calls. You can ask my coaching clients. I say this all the time. Guys, gals, I want you to build the business that you want to build, not the business someone else wants to build for you. Okay.
Yes.
Think about that. It's just what you said, rephrased. Here's what I love, right? We are an information age. There are so many Facebook groups. There are so many coaching groups. There's so many options. And I love that. I'm part of it. You're part of it, right? We were connected in the same coaching circles, right? So it's valuable. But what I want people to do is step back and say, what is the business I want to build? What is the life I want to build? Just because Sid built a $2, $3, $4 million, $5 million business doesn't mean that I need to do it. Maybe that's Sid's calling. Maybe that's what he wanted to do. Maybe I want to build a business I'm looking at a high net profit. I'm looking at 4 to 5 trucks, 2 to 3 trucks. There's no wrong answer here. And I think sometimes in our industry, people look at you like, if you're not growing, you're not going anywhere. Well, again, I've seen this, and I think you can attest to this. I've seen people doing good 7 figures and running a net profit of 3-4%.
Yeah. Ouch.
I don't want that. Like, I don't think they want that. I want them to have clarity. And again, there's barriers, and then the churn, and then you get to where it's, economy of scale, right? So we all understand that.
Yeah.
But I just want people, at least the folks that I work with, to have clarity. Like you said, like, why am I here on earth? What's my purpose? And what's the purpose for my business?
Dig into that a little bit, because that's dramatically important. It's like, what's the purpose of your business? Are you here to serve it? Is it here to serve you? Why are we doing this? Why are you doing this?
Right. Okay. All right. So you want to preach it, or you want me to preach it? So,
Go. Yeah.
Right. So you're on it. And I think you've had that enlightenment, is like, again, so we understand. That's why I like when I bring on folks, like, I want to understand their origin story. Like, why did you start your business? Hey, I got fired. Right. We a lot of folks know Bobby Walker, right? Bobby's like, what am I going to do? He went and bought a squeegee and a bucket and started building a business because he had to provide for his family.
Right.
So our initial origin story is fine, because we got to get to hustle. For me, it was a side hustle. I've always been a hustler. I'll always be a hustler. Right. But then it grows to a point of like, okay, it's impact, it's survivable, it's paying my bills. Okay, I can go back and say, what is my why?
Yes.
Why am I spending 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week in this? Is it to serve my employees? Is it to serve my community? Is it to serve my spirituality? Like, and there's no wrong answer, but it's getting clarity of why you get up in the morning and what geeks you up. And for me, Sid, I mentioned this mastermind. I really went through this, and it was kind of an emotional thing for me, is like really chewing on the question, why am I here on earth? And I'm not talking necessarily, I'm a person of faith, but just in general, I think they're all interconnected. But like, ultimately, why am I here to serve mankind, and how can I serve mankind?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, this is I feel like my calling is seeing people who are invisible. In other words, the folks that are kind of overlooked, but then empowering people to come alive, to really walk into their passion, and to understand, like, become alive in life, to breathe life into dead things. And there's nothing better than when business owners like, hey, things are going good, and I'm having more time with my family. I'm enjoying life. I'm not stressed out. I'm not freaking out.
Yeah.
So I think getting clarity, and again, we can go down this road if you want at some point, but how do we get clarity is a whole nother, way of doing life. But we both understand that we have to, and we need to get clarity, or else here's what we do. We wake up one morning, we're 65, we're 68, and we're like, you know what? I've been doing this thing for 45 years. And for some people, that's okay.
Yeah.
But for others, they're going to look back and say, if I would have just done X, if I would have just added this service, if I would have just maybe looked at this business opportunity, my life may have been different.
Right. Right. So in like, it's so valuable, and we don't hear it talked about much in the industry about building the business right for you. We've got a young man here in my town who worked for me for a couple of years, and he said, I want to start my own window cleaning business. So I helped him, but he's very specific. He said, I don't want employees. I just want to work by myself. He's an adventure cyclist and traveler. He said, I'm going to travel 12 weeks a year. He goes for 2 weeks in the winter. 2 months in the winter, and then a week every month or something through the summertime, and does all these epic, scuba diving adventures and cyclings. I met him when he was cycling across the United States, but he's like, he doesn't want $1 million business. He wants something that's this big that he controls, that puts money in his pocket, and he lives really lean. We got another friend that started, like when he started his roofing company, he was living in his in-laws' basement with his wife and new baby. And fast forward 8 years, their business is they're about a 9 million revenue. He works 5 hours a week. He's got a farm in Virginia with 40 acres, and he's raising 6 kids out on the farm. And all he does is manage the numbers. And but I was like, you guys going to grow? He said, no, this is where we're at. This is what I want.
Right.
There was nothing else. Yeah.
Your business becomes a lifestyle business.
Right.
Right. So for the cyclist, it's like, I'm a solopreneur. So I work when I want, and I don't work when I want. For your $40 million guy, it's still a lifestyle business. It's just taking him a longer path to get there, but he had clarity, like, I'm good, man. I could grow this to 100 million. If he wanted to, he probably could.
Yeah.
He doesn't want that churn. He doesn't want that grind. So I'm about people just understanding where they are, what they want. And my job as a coach is to help them get it. And there's no wrong answer.
Mm-hmm.
To help them refine their systems, have clarity in life, clarity in business, and to be financially profitable. So for me, there's no wrong answer of what business you want to build. And I think we have to get over, and I don't want to blanket the industry, but it's okay to be a solopreneur if that's what you want to be.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Well, cool. Well, so how do we get to that why, other than saying, what's your why? Simon Sinek has a brilliant thing on start with why. Yeah. But what are the questions that you ask yourself? Because it's difficult if I just ask somebody, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're 20, I ask myself daily, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'm like, I'm still working on that. But to get to clarity on your purpose and your why is more than just asking one question. What is your why? There's a lot to it. What questions do you ask?
So number one, do I wake up and do I go to bed at night content?
Wow.
Is my tank full? It doesn't mean it's easy, right? And I'll be very transparent. Working on the truck is easier than coaching all day. And I'll tell you why. Because when you work on the truck, go out, you're one with the machines, you're out there. I've got instant gratification, talk to customers, it's cleaning, it's cool. I'm in, I'm out. I come home, I'm shower. I can chill out and I can watch Netflix and hang out with the wife.
Yeah.
When I coach all day, I am mentally gassed.
Yes.
Because on the coaching side, you're solving problems. You're taking, I'm connecting with you emotional. So all of my mind is really coming out in what happens in my body. So I'm exhausted at the end of a full day of coaching, right? But I love it. Right. I'm content. I'm fulfilled, right? Are you living into your calling? In other words, are you really, and this is what I love. I love when people are like, dude, look at what I've done. Here's my before and after. Look at this project. This is amazing. And I love the craftsmanship and the quality that our cleaners and exterior cleaners are doing in the marketplace, because they love it, right? So
Yeah.
I may not love it to that degree, but they love it. And I love that they love it because I want to help them win. Other questions like, am I getting clarity? Am I able to maintain? Actually, maintain is not even a good word. Am I able to grow key relationships in my life? If this becomes a wedge with my partner in business or my partner or significant other in life, is this really what I should be doing? And again, the answer is probably yes. But what do I need to do to make sure that, hey, I set parameters, guardrails, boundaries of how I run my business, right? I'll just share a quick story. I had one of my coaching clients tell me his wife finally got pissed off at him and said, you work all day, then you come home. We're supposed to kind of hang out, watch TV together. And you have the laptop on your lap until we go to bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. You're here, but you're not present. So am I able to be present? Is another question I think people need to ask. Obviously, is it meeting my financial needs? What are my financial goals? Right? A solopreneur is not going to generate 500K bottom line revenue, at least cleaning, unless he's in a market that has unbelievable high tickets, right?
That's some margin right there.
That's some super margin, right? But again, exterior cleaners, two trucks can make very good money. So what are the revenue goals that I have? And how do I want to make that, play out into my family life? Can I have vacations? Do I have bucket list stuff that is simple enough? Like, hey, my bucket list is I want to go to Yellowstone.
Yeah.
That's not really that hard to do if you say, I'm going to take a week off and I'm going to Yellowstone. But if you are like maxed out, tapped out, and you can't get away for 3 days because the business is going to fall apart, are we doing the right thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how can we build that in? And those are just a few questions.
So you've done coaching for quite a while. You've, over decades at different capacities, but you mentioned it's like you love how, you've got a technician or cleaner, like how proud they are of the before and after on a job, their level of craftsmanship, and they get to see this result. Have you been able to see the before and after of a client's life when they apply some principles and tools and go from they're broken and need a paint job to they're fully refurbished and they shine?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a very, very recent example. This just happened over the last few weeks. A couple of our folks got on a call, they're partners. And I do we do a conquer win, and then we do what we call a boss biggest obstacle stopping success. So we kind of keep track of what's getting in our way across the week. Is it employees? Is it marketing? Is it the dog ate my homework? And this person was very transparent and said, I'm basically burnt out. And it has to do with my relationship with my partner sitting right here.
Oh, heck. And they're together when this is going on.
Yeah. So
okay.
Talk about transparency. Now, it wasn't mean, it wasn't ugly. So then we got on our one-on-one and scheduled our one-on-one, and we just talked through communicating with each other. They're wired differently. One's a super high D, go, 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 results, results, results. The other one's a super high S, slower pace, take it easy, it's going to be fine, no conflict. So they're butting heads. And I just had to unpack it and gave them tools and strategies, right? This is how you need to talk to each other. This is how you should approach this. This is how you're received, right? This is how you're received. We have to figure out how to work together in our strengths. Come back on the call a week. I was gone a week, come back on the call. And what was in the notes as we talked about it? I'm doing really good. I'm not experiencing burnout. Wow. Because we talked through those things. So here's the thing, right, Sid? If we don't talk through those things, I could see that relationship going south quickly because it's just hard. Yeah. So I feel, maybe it's self-serving, but I feel I was an intervention to say, oh, time out. Before this ruins your friendship and the relationship which started before your partnership, let's fix this so you guys can enjoy each other and grow this business together.
Yeah, that's cool. It's so frequently that like you have two really good people with good minds. They know how to get things done and they want to work together. but they literally like somehow they're not speaking the same language. And so friction happens. And they just need, you're the translator that says, okay, let me, let's fix this, just so that you got that interface where you can actually communicate. That's really cool, because that's a 1 week turnaround that's like a dramatic change in the trajectory of a person's business or life that you just described.
Right. Because I visually saw it. Like I was like, major problems, radar went up, see it on the posture, see it on the face. But really it comes down to, I can do this, but it comes down to the folks being receptive and having this self-awareness of how they are wired, how they send information, how they receive information, how they show up in the world, and then saying, oh, okay. And again, DISC, and I use the DISC assessment, the personality insights assessments. It was a game changer in my own marriage. Okay. So I used to think my wife was a super outgoing high I, and I couldn't figure out, whenever I got on the kids, I'm a super high D and we're going to do it my way. We're going to, just go, drive. Whenever I disciplined, whenever I got direct, whenever my tone was curt, like it would shut her down. Then we did the DISC assessments together, and come to find out, yeah, she's a high I, but she's an uber high S, right? Which is a steady, non-confrontational, does not like change. And I was like, that's why when I'm like, all right, hey, we're going to go on this trip today. And then we're like, oh, we're going to take a little 1 hour detour. Like, no, I was planning on going there. Why are we going here? It creates conflict.
Yeah.
And now I know those things cause problems, and we can talk about them and resolve them, as opposed to me just being like, oh, cut it out. That's ridiculous. Right. And she's always like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So it's really getting that self-awareness of how we show up. And again, when we begin to read this stuff, Sid, we'll be able to see it in our customers.
Right. So real quick, for people that are not familiar with DISC, DISC, what do they stand for? DISC.
Dominant. Right? So you have a dominant, driven personality. The I is influencing or outgoing, life of the party. Hey, show up like, hey, never met a stranger. The S is what we call steady, right? Just very status quo. And the C is what we call a critical thinker. Some people call it cautious. I don't like that a lot, because it gives the wrong, like, ooh, cautious, afraid. No, they're just very critical thinking. They're evaluating. They like details. They like information. They like rules. They like guidelines. And again, we are all a blend of those. Yeah. And that's what makes us unique. Okay. So I think I told you this. So I took the DISC profile after you and I first met, and you suggested it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. So I went and did it, and I get my results. I'm looking at it. It took me a second to recognize that it was capital S, lowercase I, capital D. I'm like, of course mine would spell Sid. I'm a Sid. You're a Sid. No question. Yeah.
There's nowhere else to go with that. I just thought it's funny.
No, that's good. That's a good anecdote to the DISC, but it is a powerful tool. I recommend the folks that I work with engaging their internal customers, which is their own employees and teammates, to understand each other. Because again, pivoting a little bit to the high performance team building, I built high performance $1 million pit crews. And a lot of times these guys would not necessarily want to go out, hang out with each other and go on vacation together, but they understand how they were wired. And they had one goal when it was race time, and that was to be the fastest pit crew on pit road and deliver the best results possible. Yeah. Right. So when we boil that down to our own teams and in our own small teams in our small business, now I understand when I confront Bill and he gets really aggravated at me, why? Or when I say something to Bill and he says nothing to me, it's like, okay, he needs time to process. And then when I go to someone and they're talking like, well, you're not giving me any details. I need the details. And you're like, you're driving me crazy with the details. Just do the big picture, right? So when we begin to understand what we need for information and how we communicate, it's a game changer. And again, it will help your business. It will help your life. It will help you in your relationships, no doubt about it.
Wow. So if you can describe for people the difference, because I think we've all experienced this to one degree or another, but there's a gulf between these two, a chasm. But you've probably been on a team. I know I've had teams that were dysfunctional. Like
Right.
they were good people, but it just didn't work. And then you've been on teams like your high performance pit crews, where like you have a true high performance team. Everybody's on the same page, working towards the same goal, and they work in concert, in harmony. Like,
Right.
what's it? So if we're describing your team, one's dysfunctional, one's high performing, like paint the picture of what a difference that makes in your life as the owner.
All right. Let me start how we get there, and then it'll naturally play out to your question. It all starts with culture. Building the culture, right? On the high performance side, the NASCAR side, like we had a culture of winning, of precision, of removing unnecessary steps, of competition, right? And it doesn't matter. There wasn't any feelings. It's like, regardless of how we're wired and how we receive information, we flex in the moment to be the best that we can be, right? So we have the culture and the communication, building strong communication, right? And then we're measuring execution, right? Those are my 3 pillars of building a high performance team. So when you have those 3 pillars dialed in, it's a game changer. And I'll tell you, I want to talk about a fallacy of always hiring the unicorn, the best worker out there, because I have been there trying to hire the absolute best talent on pit road. And these guys are all 6-figure, $200,000 earners, right? These guys get paid a lot of money to do what they do. But here's what I discovered over 15 years working with super high performers. It's not always the A player. I love coaching the B+ player who's hungry, maybe someone overlooked. They're coming from a mid-level team and they need structure, confidence, coaching, and they become loyal because you believed in them. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't look for the best player out there, but what I have seen, at least at the competitive level, the A+ players know they're A+ players.
Okay. Yep.
I love B+ players who right now just think they're going to be B+ players, but I see A+ in them. So I'm like, you're going to be an A player when we get this self-limiting beliefs, when we give you the systems, when we give you the practice. You've got a lot of the tools, right? You show up on time, you hustle, you grind. I'm going to teach you to be an A player because we're managing egos. And again, I hear a lot from my coaching clients. Well, I got this, and this will be the hardest person to fire in your organization. The top performer who shows up 5 days a week and does the most revenue of all your trucks.
Yep.
And you're like, my goodness, man, this guy is crushing it. But in the meantime, he's crushing the rest of the guys around him.
Yeah.
And what happens is when we say, you know what, enough is enough, you don't get to call the shots. I've seen it more times than not when that guy goes at the competitive level. And even with my coaching clients, the people come to him and say, thank you.
Right.
We don't want to say anything, but he was a jerk. He was speeding. He was smoking in the truck. He was doing all the things that are anti our core values, but you didn't see it because he was a high performer. Thank you. And what happens is most of the time, I'm not going to say 100%, most of the time people step up and begin to fill that void of performance and you don't miss a beat.
Right. Right. That's vast. And it, like you said, that is the hardest person to let go of because you're looking at the numbers going, well, they're crushing it.
Right.
And, but they're also, they're a cancer to the rest of the team. And when you cut it out, the rest of the team gets more healthy.
All right. Let me just hit this real quick. So this is a good little nugget for people. So I was in a position working in NASCAR where, again, guys are under contract all year long. If you're mid-year and you're having performance issues or culture issues or problems, I may not be able to make a change immediately, but they become a dead man walking to me.
Yeah.
So that means I know that there's an endpoint. They don't know it, but I know that there's an endpoint. So I begin recruiting hard, painting a picture, bringing that next person in. So as a business owner, you have to make that decision. How big is the impact on culture versus the return on the money until you can find that person to fill the spot?
Yeah.
And it's different for everyone. Some folks, it's like, I'm done right now. Okay, great. Then you've got a lot of runway to backfill that. For other folks, it's like, I can't do it until I hire as a replacement. Okay. But it's really an individual decision. But I would encourage you, if you're experiencing that, figure out a way to replace them so you have stronger culture.
Wow, 100%. So culture is king, and your company rises and falls on your culture. I wanted to ask you, I think I know the answer already, but to be conscious of time, I want to make sure we stay on time and wrap up. So give us a tool or a resource that you like that helps people get a better result from the efforts they're putting into whatever they're doing, their work.
I think really ultimately it comes down to focusing on what's important.
Okay.
Right. So, and again, that's a little bit general. So let's bring it down. I have had days, you have had days, maybe less or so now, but to be determined, right?
Yeah.
Where I am busy, but not productive.
What?
Yes. Right. And I hate those days. I'll lay in bed and be like, man, I was busy, but I got absolutely nothing done. So really focusing in on what is important. And I think I'm at this evolution of what are the things that are important to move my relationships forward, to move my business forward, to move other projects forward, right? What are those key things? And then for me, I am best when I block off time.
Okay.
And when I just make a time to concentrate, and I just had this conversation with another one of my coaching clients, and they were like, I start a project, 15 minutes in, someone comes in and talks to me.
Yeah.
Breaks my train of thought. I get aggravated and I don't stick in. So basically creating a do not disturb, more than a power hour, but at a minimum power hour.
Yeah.
And that means do not disturb from anyone unless it's an emergency, life, limb, and other than that, some family major thing.
Yeah.
And have people help you. And when you share your vision, they'll buy in to say, okay, you know what? We're not going to go to him. We're going to figure it out. And again, giving people tools to make decisions while you're not available.
Yeah, for sure. So what's a tool that you use that help you focus on what's important? Is it just, a scratch pad and say, this is my block of time, or a particular planner?
I'm old school. I journal.
Yeah.
Right. So I like clarity. I create a little bit of a list, a work list that I need to work on. And I'm always thinking about that. And I'm a man that's easily distracted, right? I'm a squirrel.
Yeah.
Right? I would rather sometimes go clean my garage than dive into a hard project.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But one of the other things that I do to help me that I hadn't done, but once I started doing it diligently years ago, it changed. It was a game changer for me. I can't schedule my life on my calendar minute by minute. I need flexibility, but I put just about everything relevant into my Google Calendar. So I know, like, okay, I need to be present for this. I've got this meeting here. I'm meeting with Sid today. I've got my time block. I've got my coaching block. I've got my, so those are the things that, like, you have to be intentional about guarding your time.
Yeah.
I tell you what I did too. If you want to talk productivity, almost 2 weeks ago, I removed all social media from my phone.
Woo!
It's a game changer. It's a game changer. I haven't been on Facebook in 2 weeks. I need to go in and catch up, I guess, but I have more clarity. I have more time, and I'm being accountable to myself. Yeah,
100%. Okay, cool. So how do people find out more about some of the stuff that we've talked about on the show? So number one, every resource or thing that we hit, like whether we're talking about disc profile or just time blocking or anything else, it's going to be in the show notes. So it's there. But how do people either get in touch with you, follow you, learn more about you, or learn more about your coaching or anything else?
Yeah. So, I mean, Matt Clark is such a unique name.
Yeah, no,
There's
you're the
only
guy.
like 12 billion of us. So my website is mattclarkmc.com.
Is that the letter M, the letter C?
MC,
Okay.
yeah, because Matt Clark was taken like, so all iterations of Matt Clark, it's like, John Smith or whatever.
Yeah.
We're run of the mill, but we're unique. Now I haven't been on social. I will be back on social, but again, I'm on Twitter, Matt Clark MC, Instagram, Matt Clark MC. So my branding is pretty much consistent. Matt Clark MC. You'll be able to find me. I'm on LinkedIn as Matt Clark and in NASCAR. So Matt Clark. I'm on LinkedIn. So that's how folks can get a hold of me. And I'd love to talk if they just need, some clarity. That's what I do. I love helping people get clarity.
100%. So that's great. I know you're a coach. You coach in several different categories with Conquer and with your own work and high performing teams. And I mentioned earlier, you have a strange fetish for the disc profile. I don't think that's what I said. You're a disc profile junkie.
Yeah.
But I had looked at disc profile in the past, and when you and I talked about it, we talked for like 20 minutes one time, and it made it user friendly to me, because before I was like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to learn this whole new language and ecosystem. And you're like, no, it's just this, and this is how it works. So you're a disc profile. I know you're a certified coach in that too as well. So
Yeah.
that's a great resource for people. Hopefully, so I'll go ahead and publish your cell phone number so people can just call you between 10 and midnight when you're not working. I'm joking.
So, hey, another productivity tool is do not disturb.
Yep.
I set that at 9:30 and 7:30. Unless you're family, you're not getting a hold of me.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Matt, thanks for taking time to play with me today and spending your time and sharing some wisdom with our audience. I really appreciate you. And it's good to see you, even though it's on Zoom. Next time we'll be in person again, like we were, 5 weeks ago at the huge convention. But until then, thank you very much for sharing your time with us, Matt.
Thanks for having me. And listen, I just want to tell you in front of everyone, phenomenal job on the huge convention. Can't wait to see you in Nashville. Give you a big high five and hug. Continue to grow and continue to help people grow. Sid, I love what you're doing.
Right on. All right. Thanks very much. I'll talk to you soon.